Everyone, welcome to the Airball podcast, a House of Handles production. This is the first video rendition we are doing of the pod. We released one podcast, which was our intro pod, just as a audio soundbite. But we thought, progressing the pod, I think video makes a bunch of sense. So it's probably time to put some faces to some names and voices to some faces. So let's start by introing. My name's Dinal.
My name's Kavan.
My name's David.
And we are 3 out of 4 of the Airball pod. Daniel will be here soon, don't worry. His voice will also get a face very soon. But to, I guess, start off, we are filming this pod after the end of the NBA Finals. The Boston Celtics, as you can see here, NBA champions.
Not a fan.
Let's start off with a quick wrap-up. What are our thoughts about the finals, guys?
I expected a more competitive series for sure.
Yeah, the most lukewarm finals victory I've ever seen.
Yeah.
2 in a row with the Nuggets last season.
That wasn't that bad. This was.
You think so?
I believe that we're not giving the Celtics enough praise for what they've done. I don't think from a viewership point of view it was that interesting, but it was. They were the best team.
Yeah,
They were definitely the best
hands
team
down.
all year long. The deepest team, the best starting five, arguably. They deserve to win.
Yeah, they've copped a lot of hate.
Yes.
And I think that's really still going on to this point. Like everyone's still, making fun of Tatum, or even just saying that this is sort of a Mickey Mouse championship.
Well, that kind of speaks for itself there, where Tatum's getting more attention for what he did post-victory than what any of them did throughout the finals.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But
But who do we think? So watching that final series, when did we know the outcome of the finals, and who do we think doesn't get enough praise for it?
I don't think Tatum got enough praise, and that's a bit. It's a bit tough to say because he was pretty rough early on. It's an interesting final series where I don't think we ever had a final series where the top 3 players coming into the series all played horrible to start the series.
Yeah.
Luka was horrible, Kyrie was horrible the entire series, and Tatum was horrible to start.
Yeah.
So I understand why people tuned out and all the comedy came out of it. But he did pick it up. He was probably a little hard done by the Finals MVP.
Yeah.
I think that was definitely a case there.
Yeah.
Brown was good, but Brown was also horrible for 2 games.
Yeah.
Right. I'm pretty sure one of them he scored 10 and got 4 boards.
Yeah,
That was
I mean, all of the Celtics suck. Drew Holiday was historically bad.
I agree, but
game.
you're picking the Finals MVP.
Yeah.
Tatum had a dominant closing game. He had a dominant game 3, I believe, that when they came back in their comeback game, I'm pretty sure, when they were down.
So game 4.
Game 4, sorry, yes.
Game 3 is when they got.
That was
no
it.
one played well.
No, that was it. I thought it was pretty even.
Yeah, on your Tatum point, I actually do want to kind of give him some flowers. I think one of the biggest criticisms that Tatum has gotten over the past few years is his lack of playmaking. But for him to flick that switch in his mind, all right, I'm not getting mine. Like he wasn't playing the same way that we'd seen him, in previous runs the Celtics have had in the last few years. He then was sharing the ball and actually making plays for his teammates instead of, jacking deep twos or step back threes or, he was taking shots within the offense.
Yeah, that was the style that was warranted of him.
100%. 100%. It's sort of something that should have happened a lot earlier, but for it to actually finally click now, which I don't think we saw that level of playmaking through the regular season at all. Like for him to really give up the ball and realize that there's always
That's
gravity
not what
around him.
viewers want, bro.
Yeah, of course.
They want the top guys versing each other, it's a David versus Goliath.
Yeah.
I think
Matchup, that's what
Dallas
they're
did
after.
a pretty good job doubling him and getting the ball out of his hands though as well.
Yeah.
So if we're going to capitalize on that, really good.
Every team doubles Tatum. Like no matter how important anyone else is on the team, Tatum is always the one who gets game plan.
And again, that's where I think that Finals MVP should have got to it. I think it would have been less of a storyline because obviously I don't believe in the Eastern Conference Player of the Playoffs or whatever award it is now that Jaylen Brown got. But he got one, Tatum gets the other. Less of a story, less of a talking point.
Did Jaylen Brown get both?
I mean, that's my point, right? Like,
Oh,
so
right, yeah.
if he got one and he got the other, it would be less of a
Yeah,
talking
fine,
point.
yeah,
It's a team. They work together.
Yeah.
They definitely work together.
To then talk about JB though, I think he took that next step. I mean, he obviously got ridiculed last year in the playoffs against the Heat.
Yep.
You know, all the no left hand allegations and, you know, really struggling against their defense.
Yep.
I think he came into this playoffs and he looked a different player. Like that level of aggression, even on the other side of the ball as well. Like he prides himself on playing defense and he talks about it often, but I think he actually did a really good job.
We got Luka full court.
Yeah, which is and picking Luka at half court, even though that's a small thing, like not many people do that, but it, you know, puts the pressure back on the Mavs and they couldn't really get into their offense. Or
100%.
I have a whole other opinion on the Mavs offense, but the Celtics and Brown, you guys, what do you think?
Hey, I mean, they won. They got the credit.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot to say. We're not the biggest Celtics fans.
Yeah.
So it's hard to see.
It's important context here, is we are all Celtics
Very
haters.
Yes.
Against the Celtics.
It was hard to put the jersey.
And like it's probably like a backbreaker when Kristaps came back, and like he was such a difference maker, especially in game one.
Oh yeah,
Well, that's a serious injury. I'm surprised that he was able to play
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. He moved okay. Like he actually moved okay in the game. He
moved okay, but apparently it's a pretty serious knee surgery they have to go through now to be back to 100% next season. But again, I guess he's saving for the playoffs next year and it'll be solid. So.
Yeah, he's a champion now.
His impact in game one, especially, like I think, when he had that like sequence in the first quarter when he subbed in, like he scored 8 points or something, blocked Kyrie on the other side. You could just feel the momentum of when he was on the court.
Yeah.
And Kyrie and the Mavs in general were just uncomfortable getting to the ring. Like Luka was not the same player getting to the cup when Kristaps was there.
Yeah.
And you know, Al Horford's no slouch as well. Props to him. And
Finally
probably the only reason I was smiling during the championship press conference afterwards was seeing Al Horford's reaction. So
to be yeah, I think Drew getting another one was also pretty up there.
Yeah,
I'd be happy to see him after getting cut and thrown out by the Bucks.
They gave him away.
Yeah. I feel like Kyrie needs to be talked about to a certain degree. On the other end.
Yeah,
he was cold, man.
He did show up.
He was really cold. Because Kyrie's he's a tough shot maker. Like you expect him against any defender to get his, and obviously Drew is like an unbelievable on-ball defender. So that's difficult. But on the times where Drew wasn't guarding him or he got a switch, I don't think Kyrie was capitalizing the way that he would, like on his regular turnarounds. Or
I mean, if you look at the past few years of NBA Finals, whatever lineup, whatever matchup, there's always a guy that you can target.
Yeah.
Right? There's always a weak link somewhere that, hey, they're so good offensively that you can go target. I remember, like, Michael Porter Jr. got targeted a certain bit last year, right? Great offensively, defensively, lost all the time.
Yeah.
With the Celtics, who do you target? Al for the few minutes he's on there, sure.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there wasn't a whole lot of targets. I mean,
you can't even target Al. Like Al's
pretty much.
He's
Solid, right?
Solid,
It's an above average defender.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for Kyrie being the undersized guard, yes, he's crafty, but man, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And my key takeaway from the whole finals that I've not seen a lot of teams do is they made their star players on the other end defend.
Yeah.
They made Luka defend. They made Kyrie defend.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were attacking Derek Jones or Lively all the time. They were attacking Luka. They were attacking Kyrie, and they had to work.
Yeah.
I mean, you asked when did we see this outcome? I reckon after about halfway through game 2, you kind of had the feeling that this was.
I mean, you can see like there's literally compilations of Luka being turnstile on defense as well. Like it was rough to watch in a way because you could just see that because of that he was forced to defend and there was just an insurmountable lead between the two teams.
Yep.
True shame.
Well, where do we see where to next with both teams? Just quickly, not going into too much depth, but like where to next?
The Mavs, I think they need to upgrade their shooting a little bit. I think they need another perimeter threat, someone who can shoot similarly to PJ Washington, and someone who's, I mean, Derek Jones Jr. outplayed his expectations for sure, and he played surprisingly well. Like he made good decisions. He was going to the ring as well, which stopped a fair bit in the finals, but series before that he was playing really well and surprisingly well. But you could tell the Mavs they're just missing the same depth. You know, they don't. Their 7 or 8 man lineup is just obviously no team is near what the Celtics is doing, but they need to have like a solid 6 or a solid 7. Like every time Maxi Kleber came on the court, I'm just like, this guy, he had an injury. To be fair,
he wasn't ready for them.
He wasn't ready. He just not willing to shoot the ball. Not ready to take anyone off the dribble. And I have comments as well about the Mavs offense. Like it really bothered me. Like they had possessions where there was no passes. Where they were
ISO.
It was ISO ball, which in the finals, like I think you need to run something before you get into an ISO. Like it was just if you let the Celtics load up, and their defenders are obviously all incredible. So even if you're getting a switch, like it just wasn't there.
I can't agree with that too much, purely because this wasn't a conversation we had the previous round or the round before when they were still playing the same offense. Right. I feel like getting to they're an overachieving team. They overachieved. They had a war of a Western Conference to get through. And they played their style and it managed to work against 2 favourable matchups for them. And they matched up against the one team which had a horrible matchup for them. And their style just went out the book. Right? Like, they don't have the ability to do what they did. But that's what got them there.
But I think they played their style differently. That's my issue with it. Is because their role players and perimeter players were not getting kickouts. Like, in game 1 especially, that was so apparent because they had the least passes in any game they'd have regular season and postseason. So obviously they weren't. Yeah, it wasn't the same thing. They were literally trying to beat defenders 1-on-1 with no screens.
I think that's probably the thing though, because Boston was so matched up so well against them, they couldn't really get that isolation / like matchup hunt.
Well, they just switched everything.
Yeah,
I mean they've got 5 guys who can switch everything and then help on any rotation.
Yeah.
You end up going isolation a lot of the time because again it's the same thing. Yeah. If you're switching everything, you're going to most likely end up with your worst player taking a shot over your best. So you fight the hard way and your best player takes a shot. Yeah. I personally think they overachieved. They got to the finals. They should be credited for getting there. Mm-hmm. I don't see where a move comes or any upgrade comes. I reckon they roll out with the same lineup.
Yeah, I think that's scary.
It's scary, but I think that's where we... That's where we land on them.
I reckon if they're able to make a move for like some sort of perimeter defender, that would probably give them I reckon if like an Andrew Wiggins joins them or something, they get that perimeter offense as well as that perimeter stopping. I feel like that will push them to another level, something like that.
It's the ideal candidate, but you're only getting that player through your buyout market at this stage. Because where's the money coming for an Andrew Wiggins contract? Yeah, even if you could get him.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Their big end guys are going to earn a lot, and they're going to be there. Lively's going to be there. PJ's going to be there. Gafford's going to be there. Kyrie and Doncic, obviously.
Yeah, going to extend Josh Green.
Probably they have to.
They
can't afford to lose him.
Yeah.
There's 7 guys, 8 guys locked up.
Yeah. Exum was good.
Exum was fun.
I actually really liked Exum. Shooting 40% from 3 and pushing the ball, pushing the pace for them.
So we've now just liked their top 8-9 man rotation.
Yeah. Well, I think they're just a piece away. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They have the ancillary pieces, but they just need that. I think it's that 4th, 5th, 6th kind of option that comes in and plays solid ball, can play make a little bit, and can get to the ring, and shoot. So PJ Washington duplicated into maybe a slightly smaller version. Yeah.
Man, big ass, but I do hope that comes because I think Luka winning a championship is a requirement in our timeline.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like he needs. I don't want to see him do the LeBron path and get pissed off at ownership in 2 years' time and go, "Yep, I'm getting out of here." Don't want the announcement 2.0.
I think the Nats will take care of their European star. They have a history of it, so we'll see.
I mean, that's a point to talk about because I don't think they can do much left to take care of it.
Yeah.
But Banner 18, are we thinking Banner 19 is coming next year?
I just don't see. I think they were going to be better just at another season of chemistry. I don't know if there's another team that. I mean, there might be another team to compete with them if there's someone else comes out of the West, but they are a really strong.
So you don't think anyone in the East will compete with them next year?
76ers. Just give Embiid some time.
It depends.
Okay, that's definitely not happening.
Embiid's not going to play.
I can rule that one out
50
now.
games a season, I reckon.
I'm then believing in.
Let's talk about that
in the playoffs.
When we see the 76ers, let's talk about it. But
Yeah.
I personally think that they're the only ones that have a chance because I think that they're the only team in the East that has the depth to do it. I just like the...
Don't like Milwaukee?
No.
I feel like Milwaukee's like
Fair
more than a
enough.
couple moves away.
Anyway,
from...
let's get back to the Celtics. I think there's a very good chance they repeat. I think the team is solid. I think if they went up against the likes of maybe the Nuggets, I think they'd do some damage against the Nuggets, but I think the Nuggets would fare better than the way the Mavs did.
So I looked into this a little bit because obviously don't like the Celtics. And I started comparing 08 championship to this year's. Right.
That's toxic, but yeah.
And there's a lot of comparisons that actually work, right? You gotta remember that 08 team was fairly stacked.
Yeah.
They were in the finals the year before, right? Didn't work out. This iteration of the Celtics, most of them were in the finals a couple of years ago, got over the hump. And they were poised to go on a bit of a run. They had a stacked rotation, really key guys. The following year, I think it was Kendrick Perkins' injury, where he was out for a large part of the season. They had a few guys in and out. Didn't work out. The following season, they went up against Miami, and they pretty much started to hold the whole movement.
Yeah.
And they were never spoken about again. Right?
That's interesting. And another KP injury is what...
It's another KP injury.
Awesome curse.
Like, he won't be back to start the season.
Yeah.
Right? You're asking Al in year... I don't know what year he's in now. He might even retire, to be honest.
39.
No, he said he's coming back. Actually.
Okay, well, he's coming back on his old legs. Yeah, like...
He's playing well, so...
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to get upgrades. So it's going to be Al Horford and Luke Cornett as their bigs.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see better 19. I don't think better 19 is coming for a while. I think there's another... We're at the top of the hill. As stacked as they are, I think it's going downhill.
Okay.
Could be out of head. I think purely out of head.
I see what you're saying. I think it'll be too early for me to agree. But I can understand a KP injury.
Yeah.
A few things go wrong in the season. I think if the core that's there, they're obviously capable of doing it.
Yeah.
It's going to come down to a bit of luck, I think.
Yeah, but also
they had luck this run as well.
They get healthy next team.
All right.
It'll be a competitive series for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
With Donovan Mitchell's on the Knicks. All right.
And
We're getting someone.
Don't forget Devin Booker.
We get Devin Booker. We get.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you end up with Zach LaVine, and then what?
Please don't go for that.
Both of those will fall through, and
Please.
Zach LaVine is
I pray.
looking up. So next, before we get into any of our draft stuff, because the draft is coming up next week, we do want to talk a bit about the movement that has started, obviously in the coaching space, and we've also already had a personnel trade as well. So obviously Josh Giddey and Alex Caruso getting exchanged player for player. Caruso going to the Thunder and Giddey heading to the Bulls. Fellas, you want to open up the floor? What are your thoughts?
And no picks involved, which was interesting.
Yeah.
I think everyone's going to say the obvious winner is OKC getting Caruso.
Mm-hmm.
With their plethora of other picks that they still have that they can make more moves with. I love Caruso to OKC. I think him and Dort together is kind of just
nuts.
You're putting together an insane defensive lineup.
Yeah.
I don't like the Giddey move.
Okay.
Really?
I don't like Giddey in Chicago. I think Giddey's a great player. I don't think Chicago is where he belongs.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, where the heck is Chicago going? They're a consistent 10th seed who still can't manage to trade the rest of their team. Is he going to provide a whole lot, or is this going to be a tank job with him being the star player?
I think what Chicago was missing, what Chicago was missing was a point guard.
Yes.
Giddey is that point forward mold that they were kind of... I know Lonzo's coming back.
So are they keeping their roster? You're telling me they're keeping that roster. They're keeping Levine, they're keeping Vucevic, and they're going to run it back with Giddey.
I think that's probably if they're not going to trade it, if that was their plan,
Yeah.
I reckon that's probably the best move they could have done to get Caruso off.
Yeah.
And who's obviously a very valuable player, and get someone who they need a facilitator, they need a point forward, and Giddey is that guy. So for me, I think on paper, I like the trade for Giddey.
So you think, hold on, you're rolling out Giddey, Lonzo off the bench, sure, throw someone in at the 2. Sorry, you got Levine at the 2.
Kobe
White somewhere in there.
The 2.
Yeah.
Play Levine at the 3. DeRozan's gone. I think he's gone.
DeRozan's gone.
At the moment, no one's gone.
No one's gone.
Right, so they
but-
clearly can't move those other pieces yet.
Yeah.
That's right.
DeRozan's free agent, is he not?
He is a free agent, but surely they'd want to do a sign and trade with him.
Yeah.
sure, you get something for him. I don't know.
The Bulls are a poverty franchise.
They could be horrible.
They'll mess it up somehow.
Let's say DeRozan's gone.
Yeah.
Who's their power forward? They got injured.
Patrick Williams.
And then you put Vucevic. You think that lineup is cracking top 10?
No, they are very
They're
in the middle, but I think they are. The Bulls are an interesting franchise because they are not a rebuild franchise.
Yeah, they're not gonna go build the draft.
No.
You know
Why not at this point? Like, I know that they don't have picks. A lot of their picks are in Orlando. Still, but you just put together a team of 5 that can't stretch the floor to the 3-point line.
I like the trade. I like the trade for both teams. Yep. I do think that the Bulls should have got a pick back because I think they had a need, and maybe they didn't have the leverage in the negotiations. But I think Caruso was worth a pick in return with Giddey, and there was reports as well that teams were offering 2 first-rounders for Caruso before the trade deadline as well. And I think Caruso is one of those pieces that is a difference maker. I think he's an X factor. I think he is similar to a Lou Dort, but can put the ball on the floor more. Shoot 40. He shoots 40% as well. So having 2 guys like that for OKC is crazy good, and especially a guy who just doesn't need the ball to make magic happen. So it's more Shea time, which I think is great. I think the ball needs to be in Shea's hands for that team to really succeed. And you could tell that Giddey was a bottleneck. So I'm glad, and obviously the reports were that Giddey actually asked for the trade because he wasn't happy to come off the bench. And that is interesting because it was clearly a crossroads moment for him in his career. And I think he's actually made the right choice by asking for out because people were quick to forget that he's 21 years old.
Very young.
Just 2 years ago, as a 19, 20-year-old, he averaged 16, 7, and 8, or 16, 7, and 7. So those are insane numbers for a guy his age, and I think people are really devaluing Giddey because he has a skill that cannot be taught. He has that IQ, the vision, the ability to floor race, and I think that is not something that comes very easily in this league. In fact, there are only a handful of guys who have that level of talent that Giddey has.
Are they devaluing him, or are they? I personally believe they're devaluing the team that he's going to. That it's not a great situation for him. For example, let's say he got traded to San Antonio, for example. That would be insane. Everyone would be fully for it.
Yeah.
Starting point guard. They need a point guard. They need a ball distributor. They got Wemby to pair him up with.
Okay,
I think it's a Chicago angle.
I don't think that matters when you actually look at the trade because yes, Chicago are a poverty franchise and the team sucks, but they made a good trade. If you look at just talent, getting Giddey back for what they had, which Caruso is fantastic, don't get me wrong, and a very valuable player in the league, but just the star potential with Giddey, if he figures it out and he's a 21-year-old, we might look at this in a year's time and be like, holy crap, the Bulls did an amazing job getting this guy at 21 years old.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. It's got the potential to be there.
But I think everyone is casting it as, oh my god, OKC fleece, blah, blah, blah. But I really, I think people are too quickly to hate on Giddey. He's an amazing player who has an incredible talent.
Definitely not a fleece. It's more just it's just such a seamless fit.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
They got they got the perfect player that they need in that spot while keeping all their draft capital, which is quite insane.
Yeah. But even then, and like David's point as well, I also think the fit for Chicago is good because they need that table setter. That's what they were missing this entire time. You couldn't have, Levine and DeRozan ISOs into just nothing and Vooch sucking for an entire season.
But that's what's going to happen with him moving the ball around. There is no shooting.
All right, but now now as a coach, you get given a stud like this and you can change the way your offense runs with a stud like this.
Yeah.
I think we will see a different Bulls team. Something obviously had to change, and I think this was the perfect thing to get that kick started.
Yeah. I hope it's a kickstart. That's where I'm at. I just hope it's a kickstart into a transition. This is an owner that does not want to pay luxury tax, so doesn't want to make moves.
The reason we've been calling the Bulls a poverty franchise, and if anyone doesn't know, is that the Bulls in the last 17 or 18 years has paid the luxury tax once. Yeah. Once. Which to give context, your big market teams like the Warriors, for example, were paying the luxury tax their entire time during their dynasty.
Never
not. So, those big teams go into their pockets, and the Chicago Bulls are a household name, and they don't dig into their pockets to make the team better. So, they're a poverty franchise. We hate the ownership. People of Chicago hate the Bulls, but they made a trade for a good player, and we'll see. I mean, they were trading for upside, and OKC were trading for fit, and they got someone amazing for it. So,
very rarely do you see a player for a player straight up in the NBA now. So it's cool.
It was cool. It actually was a cool moment. Anyway, moving on. That was the player move, but then also some coaching changes. So we'll start off with the firings first, because they're spicy. They are spicy. So JB Bickerstaff and Monty Williams. So JB Bickerstaff being the coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Monty Williams being
the Mighty Pistons.
The Mighty Pistons, who signed him to a 5-6 year deal for 60 or so million, and he survived 1 year in that job, and has now been fired. Thoughts, opinions from the floor?
I just have a question. Why are they always just paying just massive money for coaches? They did that to Dwayne Casey, Monty Williams, and then they just sack him. They don't let him write it out,
I mean, it's harder to entice a coach to take a bad team.
That's fair.
So you kind of have to throw a little bit more. I mean, small market teams, even with player sightings, you kind of have to throw overs to get them there.
Yeah.
How they are able to fire someone so early and still pay them, that's beyond me.
Yeah.
Let's start with JB. Let's focus on JB. I mean, Daniel would be the perfect person here because massive Cavs fan. But I've been saying that JB should have been fired for about 2 years now. I don't think he's a great coach. He has a very talented roster. Doesn't run a whole lot. If you didn't like the Mavs offense, you're definitely not going to like this offense. It's a lot of stagnant action. He still plays two bigs that can't shoot. This was way overdue. I think it might have been too late in the context of the Cavs in how to save their roster. Again, that's probably a conversation to have later in terms of what's going to happen with their roster. But it's a very good opportunity for whoever wants to come next. I don't think JB should have had that job, but I think it was a good firing.
Yeah, I agree. I think his scalp was definitely on the table. I think the roster has been underachieving for a little bit. I think they're a very strong team, and they have a good amount of depth. I think the Strus trade made a huge difference for the team, but I don't think JB got the most out of the roster. So yeah, his head on the chopping block made a bunch of sense. Monty, I think Monty didn't do the best of jobs. Yes, I think it is a bit rash to fire a coach in this first year of his big 5-year deal and signing the biggest coaching contract at the time in NBA history, and now he's done and sitting at home. I think it's a brash move, but I think the team too heavily underperformed. I think 100%, he had to scapegoat pretty hard. But
did he tank the season? Did he tank his contract?
It's a juicy thing to say, but
okay, obvious. Let's look through the year that was. Obvious blunders to start the season. Jaden Ivey not starting on a trash roster, not starting and not even getting minutes, good minutes for the first month. Is that not tanking? He's your second, third best player on that team. Maybe he's immature, maybe he had some issues, but man.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I question the fit with him next to Cade, because Cade wasn't shooting it amazingly.
He started Killian Hayes over here.
That's a serious.
He wasn't on the roster, but
he was really sold by Kevin O'Connor's take.
Yeah.
Killian Hayes is the best thing.
I haven't seen more intentional taking than that.
Yeah, it's a juicy conspiracy theory, and who knows?
The plan worked. He's getting paid more than most coaches will get paid to coach in a lifetime to not coach.
He just needs to get back to Chris Paul, because he piggybacked Chris Paul his entire career and made a living from it. So.
Chris Paul didn't have the knees for it anymore. Monty getting fired, I think everyone sort of saw that coming in terms of his performance. Don't think people expected that big of a contract to still be paid out so early on. I thought they might butcher through another season.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised. I thought they'd at least give him another shot in one more season. You already paid him.
Yeah.
No,
But
yeah.
that's purely from a contractual point of view. From a performance point of view, you go, okay, no, he's a horrible coach.
Yeah.
I think I wonder who they will replace. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that there must have, we spoke about it a little bit before as well. There must have been either a disconnect in the locker room, or the front office just gave up on, Monty's plan for the future or how he was directing that team.
I'll say the
For
first.
something to have happened like that, it's going to have to be one of those two things. I personally think it's probably front office. The front office probably.
Really?
I think they saw what happened in that first season and they gave up hope. They're like, this is not our man for the future.
That's unlikely, just purely because of how much they've invested. You sort of ride it; it doesn't hurt you.
Yeah,
But you're losing anyway. You're getting picks.
Yeah, but Monty's a good locker room coach though. Like he's
That's the
quite
theory.
beloved. He's quite
That's the
beloved.
theory.
We'll
But-
never know, but
I believe, again, their biggest priority is protecting their talent. What they have, right?
yeah, the talent.
Whatever they have, right? If he's got a detachment in the locker room, if Cade's not feeling it, Ivy's not feeling it, Ivy probably wouldn't be feeling it,
Yeah.
right? Can't afford to lose these guys in 2 years' time because they've got pissed off for 2 years straight of just dealing with Monty,
Yeah,
right? So, cut your losses,
yeah.
big losses,
Yeah.
get rid of him, blah, 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 and just move on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Just before we move on from the coaches getting fired, we
Yep.
forgot about one guy. And then Darvin Ham also got fired.
yes.
Forget about good old Darvin.
Mr. Ham.
Motivational speaker.
Yeah.
The memes are endless. My God, there's so many montages of him writing words on clipboards instead of drawing up plays.
Give ball to LeBron.
Yeah.
Oh man, I want to say he was a horrible coach, but are you even coaching a Lakers team? Is that?
I was really disappointed to see, I guess, those clips coming out of him being like that, but it didn't come as a surprise.
No, it definitely didn't.
Yeah.
I think his reputation was very boosted by Lakers' run in the final, this
Conference
conference finals,
Yeah.
student conference finals.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Like-
not sure how much of that is on him.
Yeah. It's kind of like being in a group project and doing 10% of the work and going, yes, we did this.
That's-
We achieved this.
But I'm happy he's made his way back to the Bucks as an assistant coach, and I think
Yeah.
that's good because Doc
With
needs
Doctor-
Doc needs some backup over there.
Oh, dude.
Extra motivational.
Hey,
Yeah, some more motivation.
we'll have the same conversation next year with probably Doc.
Mid-season.
Mid-season, maybe. He might be the first coach to go mid-season to mid-season.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Maybe
So what do we think about the next hiring then?
JJ Redick.
The new guy in the Darvin Ham position.
I love JJ Redick. I enjoy his podcast. We're obviously competitors with him now, but so we will come for your thunder, JJ. But I think he's a great basketball mind. Not exactly proven, obviously, as a coach, unless you want to count, him coaching his son's team.
Yeah.
But I think he has a great mind and he's got a feel for the game and he knows players really well. He's still very young, in coaching terms, I'd say.
Talking about the dynamic, but what do you think? Because they're doing a podcast together,
Yeah,
right? They're good mates.
it's weird.
From
Really
a
strange.
coaching point of view, good mates do not work in terms of coach-player relationship. You can be good friends off the court, but
I imagine it's going to be like a real collaborative kind of, environment between those two. That's what I think. Like where LeBron's like an unofficial player coach.
but who takes the blame? You can't
gonna
have a
be
backseat
JJ.
driver.
It's going to be JJ.
That's the issue. And everyone knows that taking the Lakers job that you're very much so in the firing line, which is why I definitely wasn't a fan of JJ taking the role as a Lakers head coach.
Yes.
Even though I understand that, you get to be a Lakers head coach, and yes, you are envisioned as being the next, dynasty coach for the most storied franchise in the NBA.
No.
But I think maybe there's promises involved of the post LeBron era of JJ being able to shape a program that he would want.
I feel like Frank Vogel probably got the same promise.
He probably did.
I think every coach that comes around to the Lakers gets the, hey, post LeBron, this is your team.
Yeah. But I think JJ probably has the guts to hopefully get it to that point, and I think he has the smarts to build a program for this modern NBA. That's what I have faith in JJ is what he's going to bring to the table is something that an offense at least that will be built for this type of league. So,
and his initial thoughts are, and his initial interviews and things like that came out were actually pretty promising. Considering he kind of wants to start moving LeBron off ball, featuring AD and things like that.
Yeah.
I think he does well for a post LeBron.
Yeah.
Type of scenario, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, excited to see what he does. Excited to see what he does.
The theory is all well and good, but I mean, he's still getting that same roster. Right? You're moving LeBron off ball. Sure. Who's that ball going into? Like, who handed that ball going?
D'Angelo Russell, maybe.
Okay.
Austin Reeves.
Yeah, that theory lasts 30 seconds before LeBron goes, scrap it, ball's me, move.
And I guess that's a challenge for JJ, right? Is he able to like be like, no, LeBron? Like,
I don't think he'll be able to break that barrier of friendship to go, hey, get off.
Yeah,
I call the shots. You don't want to buy in? Sit.
I'm keen to see.
I'm keen to see.
I'm
Don't
keen
get
to
me
see,
wrong.
yeah.
This obviously this is going to be mass media attention all season long, right? Every time something good happens, JJ's doing all right. Something bad happens, JJ sucks. He's horrible.
Yeah.
You know, you can see the ESPN headlines and first take headlines straight away. I personally believe that if he was purely interested in coaching, he should have stayed a little bit more patient, gone for that Cavs gig or even the Charlotte gig. Maybe not the Charlotte one as much, but I know you don't get the attention of being in LA, but you at least get to coach. You get to put in a program. You could build something. Cavs especially. You know.
I think JJ wanted a big market. I think he has an ego. He was in the NBA. And
but so did Derek Fisher as coach.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, half a season in New York and we haven't heard from him since, apart from what Matt Barnes did to him. You know?
Yeah.
So there are coaches that will come out with a whole bunch of potential and optimism.
Yeah.
And they'll get in a bad situation and it's done. So I mean, again, interested to see where it goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel for you. Good luck.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Our next segment will be about the NBA draft. Obviously, that is around the corner here. So we did want to get some takes on some of our thoughts on the draft and potentially a bit of a talk about the teams, their needs, and what players that they should be focusing on and who we think is going where. The question to start with, and it's an easy one to kind of break the ice with the draft. What do we think about the number one pick? Who do we think is taking the pick, number one, and then who's going to what team?
Well, as most people would know, this is a draft that's based on necessity over top end talent. Yeah. Therefore, I think everyone's got looking at all these mock drafts and big boards that's happening at the moment, everyone's got a different player at number one. I don't think the Hawks take this pick. So it's hard to say who the number one pick will be. I don't think there's a pick that will save them. SARS does seem like the more logical pick in terms of big man, defensive ability, athleticism. I still think they already have that in the two sets that they've current. Capella and Okongwu could pretty much do, I would say, 90% of the job that SARS probably could do. So I have no really input into the number one pick. I think it's really team based, whoever does grab that. But I guess we'll talk about that with what the Hawks will do. Throw it to you. Who do you?
Yeah. Well, I think the Hawks are picking. I think that if they pick right, they can get a piece that's going to make a big difference for their team. And I think that the glaring hole with the Hawks is their defense. It was very apparent in Luka's 74-point game or whatever he had in that in the regular season. But also there were many a player who had their best games against the Hawks because the Hawks were just that bad. So I think defense is their biggest thing, and I actually think there's some pretty solid defenders in the draft. I think there's no one really too flashy on offense, and no one that you would look at in this draft and be like, yes, star player, build a franchise around him. But what you will get in this draft is players who will be very solid two-way starters. And I think some of them have star potential, or some of them have one-sided star potential. So maybe a defensive star, or maybe someone who can just really shine on offense. But no one who's just like that, clear-cut, oh my God, build my franchise around this guy. I think, the Hawks are picking one, and I would say that they're either going for Klingen or Sarr. Klingon, if they also see Klingon as that Rudy Gobert type prospect, where 7'2", protects the ring, he's great on his feet. He moves amazingly, and I think has that length, and he has that Rudy Gobert type of presence. So if you project him to be that level of defensive impact, I think that is a pick that makes a bit more sense to put behind Trey. But Sa to me as well is also not a bad pick. I think he's a weird one, and the player comp that I have for Sa is more of like a Jabari Smith Jr. kind of build, where he comes in and he is a streaky shooter, but has like that same length and lankiness and the ability to dribble the ball. So I see him as kind of like a weird hybrid Jabari Smith kind of player.
I don't think the offense is quite there yet. That Jabari had coming in from the draft.
Jabari could shoot it much better, but
so
I think frame-wise...
much better offensively, Jabari. Probably not much worse defensively. Jabari wasn't a first pick. That's my point.
Yeah, well,
right.
It'll be not anywhere near as talented, but...
David, who do you reckon? First pick?
I think the Hawks has to pick first, only because I don't know anyone who would pick draft up from. Like, why would they give up assets for this number one?
Fair.
You know what I mean? Because, like you guys have said, it's a draft that you're drafting for fit.
Yep.
And there's no one that I think at number one that everyone's like, yeah, if I miss out, there's a lot of players that have duplicate skill sets. So, like, you have Sa going like one in the top three, but then you also have Klingon, who's also a defensive big. So, I feel like if you miss out on one, you're kind of like, okay, I can kind of make do with another pick lower down.
Do you have a player that you believe would be the perfect fit for them?
I look at the Hawks. I think Dana had a good point that he was saying the Hawks need defense.
Yep.
But I think they need more point of attack defense. And I would say Researcher, the guy from France, I like him for them at number one. I wouldn't normally pick him number one in a different draft, but I do see the versatility. I see that he's a little skinny, but he moves really well, and I think he fits in really well on offense, being a great spot-up shooter, and he's a great cutter as well on the weak side. But yeah, I probably, he's getting mocked first to the Hawks at that pick, so I'd probably go there. That's probably my route.
Interesting that you guys go with big men, and you feel that the bigs need replacing. If I look at our Hawks roster, forget the draft, the player that I would replace in a heartbeat would be their three. Right. Blanking on his name all of a sudden. Who's the Hawks three? I feel like I literally just blanked. I looked him up.
Jalen Johnson.
No.
Johnson plays four.
No.
DeAndre Hunter.
DeAndre Hunter or
Hunter.
Sadiq Bey.
No.
Sadiq was starting for most of this
Definitely
Hunter. Hunter's the one that needs replacing. And I feel like, from what I've seen, Castle would be the number one. The Iguodala comparisons, the defensive ability, the versatility. Again, like you said, someone to stop the athletic, the 2s, 3s, 4s from taking off. I mean, Luka had a monster game. A lot of players have had a lot. Because they don't have perimeter defense.
Yeah, correct.
They got DeJounte Murray thinking he's going to be a defensive threat. He hasn't really lived up to that tag post San Antonio. They don't have anyone outside of that. Sadiq Bey, great on the 3-point end.
Yeah.
Very streaky, can get you the points. Defensively, liability. Jalen Johnson's more of a 4. Do you really want to Stars and Jalen Johnson together? It's kind of taking the ball away from either one of them. I believe you're going for a 3-man. You're going for the defensive ability there. If you're keeping this roster, okay, but assuming no changes are going to happen there, that's sort of what you want. You're going with these bigger guys. Yeah, there is some upside defensively, but you're going to have to gut two of the centers out, to get the minutes out there.
I think they need to. I think Okongwu's had his time as a Hawk, and I don't think he hasn't lived up to what he was supposed to be, and I think he's probably the most valuable, the thing that they'll get the most value for if they're going to move anyone. I don't think Capella has the same value that
Capella definitely does.
But you'd rather have Capella as that lob threat, because I think he's quite a good Trae Young player. Like I think
this is
not amazing, but as a backup big for Trae Young, I think you would definitely keep Capella over Okongwu.
Agreed.
I hear what you're saying. I think like a three is a glaring hole for the Hawks, absolutely. But I also think they just need that anchor. And like as good as Stephon Castle is, I just don't think he's that defensive shift. He's not. If you pick him, your team doesn't suddenly become a plus defensive team. Whereas like I think the big men in this draft, and there's a few of them who are actually quite good defenders. I think they are the ones that will kind of tick you up, and I think that's why some of them are so high on the mock drafts.
Potentially, again, this is a draft that we have to sort of see how it plays out. But so we're on the fence with. I don't believe they'll take the first pick. I think there will be a trade. You two both believe they will be picking the first.
I'll be really disappointed if they don't pick.
Go.
Yeah. I think the upside. It's too much. Like it's very rare that number one picks get traded.
Yep.
And when they do get traded, it's for difference makers, in a championship winning way. And I just don't think the Hawks can get anything back that suddenly makes them a contender.
Correct.
So take the pick, take the upside. You have the number one pick, so you have the best chance at getting someone who's going to be, an all NBA talent. So do it. Just try not to mess it up.
This is definitely one that we will revisit next Wednesday.
Sure.
Post draft.
Yeah. Sure.
Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah. So we will. Do you guys have anyone in mind who sort of is going to be a surprise lottery pick? So potentially someone who might be forecasted to be out of the lottery, or even if they're forecasted in the lottery, who do you think is a bit of a surprise or will surprise people?
Throw it to David. David, you're up first.
I'm actually okay. So I've looking for the mocks. I was looking at Cody Williams as someone who's pretty high. From what I understand, he's a raw talent. But he has a bit of a shaky jump shot, and can't really create his own offense. He's also he's really lanky and doesn't really have the strength to live up to that defensive stopper kind of reputation that he has. So Cody Williams is my pick. He's quite raw, and I just don't really know where he would kind of fit in aside from potentially the Portland Trail Blazers, because they're such a guard-heavy roster. They don't have any really wings. Jeremy Grant's, I think, better more as a power forward anyway. Cody Williams is for me.
Yeah, I think the person who I think actually might drop, and I'm looking at a mock draft right now as well, and they have them dropping too. But I think Rob Dillingham is going to drop, even though he's a polarizing offensive player, like very good on that side of the ball, very shifty, very quick, but he's undersized. He will be a net negative defender, and I think in today's NBA and the Celtics proved that, and even the Nuggets starting five, I think you need everyone to be a defender to be a contender, and I think teams will look at that, and that will really drag down Dillingham, even though he's incredibly talented and his highlights are popcorn worthy, but I think that's what's really going to hold him down, and I guess some mocks now have him dropping outside of the top 10 potentially.
I guess you kind of see that as well, if like players that kind of fit his mold in a path like Trey Burke and things like that. Not many of them stay around.
Yeah. It's hard. It's really hard to make it when offense. You just there's not many dynamite players like that who contribute to contenders. So yeah, that's my pick. Give an opinion here.
I don't really have too many risers and guys that are going to fall. I think it's a bit harder this draft purely because in conventional drafts, the top 5 is really just based on talent, right? A lot of these mock drafts, a lot of the guys are really trying to pick what player deserves to fit on what team, what they'll take. A guy that I've got going potentially both ways, like the guy that's been spoken about a lot, Reed Shepherd. A lot of upside. A lot of guys are talking him up like he's the next Steve Nash, blah, blah, blah. But we also got, I heard a lot of people compare him to, your average 3-point shooter. That's like, got the Grayson Allen comparisons. You've got the, I'm blanking on names there, but you haven't really got a definitive pick on who he is. And he's got a lot of hype around him. I can see him going as high as 2 to Washington, and I've got him low as maybe the second round of the San Antonio pick, which is the 9th pick. But I could see him fluctuating depending on who's after him. He's spoken like he's the number 1 pick right now.
So
I don't think he's the number one pick personally, but again, very hard to predict. I think he's gonna be the guy that fluctuates. It's
I like Reed
You're a
Shepard
big fan,
lot.
I know.
I like Reed Shepard a lot. I think he is one of the safest picks in the top 5 because I think what he gives you on both sides of the ball is very, you know what you're going to get. 6'3", shoots the shit out of it.
Great defender.
Great steal rate.
Yep.
He gets deflections. He's a pest.
Would you say his ceiling is Klay Thompson? Or you don't see him there?
I don't see him there. He's what sticks out to me, and maybe it's just because he's white and his build, but I see Stockton a little bit, where Stockton was like this steady playmaker. Obviously, he's not going to have the same assist total that Stockton will, but gets deflections, gets steals, shoots the ball very well, but is just a switched-on basketball player. Like, he just makes the right plays, and I think that's important in today's league because he's kind of like that Derek White who makes the right choices, makes the right reads, and can make the correct pass. Which every team would love to have a Derek White on the team. So I think Reed Shepard is a great pick. I just would really be very upset if he went to the Rockets, which is where some people are mocking him to go. Just because the guard depth for the Rockets is too much going on. Like you got Fred, you got a man.
Personally, you'd be upset if he doesn't go fourth.
I would love him to go to the Spurs.
I mean, the top three are all horrendous options.
I'm crying on draft day for him if he goes to the Spurs because I think he's a Popovich player. And we can go into the Spurs. We're definitely going to talk about the Spurs later. So I won't go into too much depth, but I think he fits the Spurs, and I will cry tears for him because opportunity wise, I think that's so much better for him than sitting behind Fred, Jalen Green, and then. Where does he slot into that? Because
you can make the same case. I'd feel even worse if he went to Washington. Sitting behind Jordan Poole, they need a point guard. And
they need a point.
He'd still be sitting behind Jordan Poole.
With
the way the Wizards work,
he would. But who knows? 4 would be amazing. But Reed Shepard is a very solid pick, and I do see him going high.
The reason why I sort of dropping is because of the point you just made that Houston's got a lot of guard depth. Detroit is going to pin their hopes on Cade. Don't need another ball dominant point guard. Charlotte's going to pin their hopes on LaMelo. Portland's already got a massively guard oriented youth group coming up. He could, if San Antonio were if they wanted to manipulate it to a certain degree, pick up someone else while still trying to get Reed Shepard, I could see him dropping all the way to 8. It would be a risky move, but I could see him fluctuating there because they don't need guards.
They don't. I potentially see Detroit taking him just because of the shooting, because they desperately need a guy who is a connector and a shooter. Yes, the fit in the guard position.
Cade, Ivy, you still got a pretty solidified.
But he's objectively the best shooter in this year's draft.
You also got a star as well, who's another ball dominant guy. I don't see Detroit. I could see why you would say Detroit. It'd be beneficial for them. But I think having those 3 guys who are their 3 best. Throw in Jalen Duren, that's probably your top 4. 3 of them being ball dominant guards. It's not good for him.
I actually don't see Reed Shepard dropping past 4. If San Antonio's at 4,
100%.
He's going to San Antonio, I reckon.
You'd hope so. That'd be a dream situation.
So are there any players being overlooked here that we haven't spoken about thus far?
It's another tough question because are they being overlooked for a certain spot or are they being overlooked by a certain team?
There's one player I want to comment on, and that's Ron Holland, who was playing for the G League Ignite. I really like his game. I think he's a very athletic, punchy, intense player, and I think he gives me Anthony Edwards' level of athleticism and intensity, but toned down slightly, and shoots a similar percentage to what Anthony Edwards did when he was in Georgia. I can see him developing, and I can see him being one of those just scary wings that develops into a perennial all-star type player. He's good on both ends because as a defender as well, he's absolute clamps. So
you wouldn't want to listen to Kevin O'Connor's comparisons, but
No, absolutely not.
theoretical Josh Jackson is not who I would want to be drafting.
KOC, if you're listening to this, man, you've done Ron Holland badly, man. You've done him dirty. But I like Ron Holland. Time will tell, but I think his upside is insane. So he's one person that I think people are overlooking because he's been dropping down draft boards slightly. Yeah, that's my pick. I have someone else as well. If you guys don't have anyone else,
No, go for it. I don't have
I don't. Again, I'll talk a little bit more about it when it comes to our team segment.
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple of players I believe certain teams are not looking at enough, but I'll throw a play for you.
I think this is one that people have been talking about a lot, and has been controversial because he's been showing up in mocks, as low as 20. But I think Zach Edey, I think he will carve out a role in the NBA. He is obviously incredibly tall, but I think he moves better than anyone else has, being 7'4", apart from Wemby. Before him, I think Zach Edey, he's clearly proved himself in college with a back to the basket sort of game, but he's obviously very capable of doing other things. I think he'll be better than people realize.
Do you see him rising up a few spots?
Yeah, I do, because I think there is a very good fit for him in a specific team, which I can mention now. We can mention in our next segment.
I would mention now. Who do you see him going to?
I would love to see OKC pick him. I'd love to see it because I think they are missing a center of size. He is one that's very capable, can pass the ball. I think he fits their offense of people who are just, a bunch of Swiss Army knives of people who are able to do anything. And I think he's probably the most capable 7'4" person we've seen since, Wemby. So, which has only been a year, but he's a unicorn. And I think, people are too quick to say that his game won't translate, but I think he's a player of the year, 2-time player of the year in college. I think he'll kill it in the NBA. He'll carve out a role.
I really like him. I didn't want to mention him because I don't think he's positioned too badly. I think he's at a perfect spot, and I think he's near the most perfect team for him. Mm-hmm. I believe he'd be perfect for Portland. Not a big Ayton fan.
Yeah, I was going to say, are we giving up on Ayton then? Or?
I've given up on him the moment he got traded there. All right? He doesn't want to play basketball. He doesn't want to be on that team. All right. He missed the game because it was snowed in and the driveway was too icy to get to his game. He doesn't want to be in Portland. That's for a fact, right? And no better player to have in front of you than Ayton, who, let's be real, in a couple of years probably will get traded away. Mm-hmm. Good buffer for him. He's still got skill sets that he could learn off Ayton, especially on the offensive end. Him being a really more defensive-minded center as well, I think this will be perfect for him. Mm-hmm. Give him the protection for a couple of years, he comes through, and then he'll be your starting center with a really talented guard lineup that would, Scoot moves the ball around. He's got a second year that he's got to prove as well. Anthony Simons, Shaden Sharp, you got a good team there.
Yeah.
Right? So I think he's positioned perfectly. I kind of hope he goes to that 14 spot. I'm really worried he goes to Sacramento. I think that would be, again, just career over. And even worse if he goes higher. I'd hate for him to go to Chicago. I'm sorry, but that could be just career done. There is no development.
Yeah.
You could learn from Vucevic, don't get me wrong, but man, you're not getting anything there.
Yeah. Again, poverty franchise Bulls, so no trust.
Probably won't even pay him afterwards. So, again, there are some teams that will be interesting for him, but I think he's positioned quite well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we can move on. So that's sort of our initial thoughts, but obviously we want to talk a bit about, teams and I guess specifically their needs. We've touched on the Hawks already.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Wizards, who are picking at 2. What are you guys' thoughts, or what do you think the Wizards need desperately?
I can't say his name, but I know he's going there.
Okay.
Zachary the dude from France.
Okay.
Can you say
Zachary Rissefe?
That's the way.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. I believe he's a no-brainer to go to the Wizards at 2.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
He's the type of guy that they predominantly go for. He's literally another Danny Avdija build.
Yeah.
6'8", small forward. They can't really go for a guard in this draft. I don't see a good fit again with Jordan Poole. Although they need a point guard, I think they need a more veteran point guard. I think a rookie point guard would just get eaten up by Jordan Poole.
Yeah.
Because the team orchestrates around him. They've only really got Kuzma at the wing spot that they can trust. Abdi is great. Kispert, I don't know if they still believe in him. Johnny Davis, is he still on the roster? I don't know. Who else did they draft recently? I mean, all their draft picks have been horrendous.
Danny Arthur's alright.
Abdi's alright. Abdi's the only one that you can hold.
Kispert's surprisingly good. I thought he was going to be.
But none of these guys are really getting the ball. Their center spot, again, could be up for grabs.
Yeah.
I think if Asaz does fall, I think he'd be very enticing there. But I just see this guy going there. I just see him being another catch and shoot guy. Just stacking it around Jordan Poole.
I feel like that, I don't know. I don't know if that would be the best pick for them. I think if Saar does fall to them at 2, I reckon they should go for that.
Yeah.
I reckon they just don't have that player on their roster. And that's also a great place for Saar to go. There's no one in front of him. Like, who is the center for Washington right now? I actually don't even know.
Gafford got traded.
Got traded,
No idea. I genuinely have no
Marvin
clue.
Bagley got traded too. Yeah. So I reckon if Saar does fall to them, I would love to see Saar there. It would actually give him room to really grow into that Jaren Jackson comparison that they're giving him, and just playing off Jordan Poole really. He's a great Saar himself is a decent passer, and yeah.
The only thing I would touch on there is the two of you talked initially about the Hawks pick and how he could be a mobile, put the ball on the deck, sort of stretch out to that power forward sort of position kind of player. Is he going to get that kind of usage in Washington? And now we're talking about a player's point of view, so probably that's the wrong way to go about it. I think from a team point of view, no brainer, you take Saar if he's on the board, but I don't think you're going to get the version of Saar that you're
the ideal version.
You're not going to get the top end version of him with that team.
Yeah, I think theoretically, him with Kuzma playing at the 4, I kind of like that. Like I think Saar has the versatility that they need because they need defense. They need someone to build around. They need a hub. And I think I really like Klingon for that. I don't know if the Wizards will look at Klingon like that, or previously Klingon had been higher on mock drafts, and I know we can't trust mock drafts. I know teams are looking at this top 5 as it could be basically anyone. I like Klingon. I really like Klingon at the 2 spot as a defensive anchor and to build. If you've got firepower in Kuzma and Poole, even though they're not amazing, but at least and my thing with Klingon as well is you know what you're getting with the guy. Whereas if you're drafting Saar or if you're drafting Ricochet especially is a very what if. Really young guy, had a really strong start to his season in Europe, but with Ricochet, I just don't see his playing, his ability to put the ball on the floor. Like I really do see him as kind of this stretch big, but I think you just need
40%.
Yeah, I think you need more of a hub. That's why I'm clinging onto Klingon.
Yeah, it's not a franchise that tends to do that.
Yeah,
they went with Koulibaly last year, who was a massive project. Upside potential, kind of really unknown. Again, I don't see them going with someone that's like, this is what we need to do better.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that.
That's going to be a wild pick that sort of no one's really talking about, that they go, yep, we figured this out. We know this. We know something. So, again, maybe it's just us not having faith in the team, but I see someone like him there.
I agree. I fully expect Ricochet to get picked at number 2. I fully expect it. Yeah. Again, the Wizards are another poverty franchise in the NBA, and they will find a way to probably
take steps backwards while taking steps forward. Yeah.
So look, who knows? Ricochet could be amazing, but he's not. I don't think he's fitting a need for them. That's another thing, because they have. You mentioned Kuzma, Koulibaly, Abdia. These are all big wings, and you add another big wing in Ricochet.
Look, I feel like my belief in this draft is that there will be more trades than one would expect in an NBA draft. Mm-hmm. The Wizards being also one of those interesting teams where they probably should pull a trade, because if you look at their roster, what they're really missing is veterans. Not another 19, 20-year-old. They've got plenty of those. they're run by two guys in their mid-20s who think they know everything. They need the Chris Paul types. They need the Mike Conley types. That's the kind of guy that they need at the point guard position. I really wouldn't be surprised if they got rid of the second, maybe attached another, and chased a veteran. 1 through 5. I wouldn't be surprised. I think that's probably something...
I don't agree with you.
To benefit them, you believe another 19, 20-year-old is going to be...
I think they either trade down, but I don't think they don't pick at all.
Yeah.
Like,
No, it's not that... Potentially not. Maybe they move down the draft, but again, that's... When you're looking for a need and like a fit for this team, again, another high draft pick.
Yeah. But they need to pick for their future. Because right now, yes, they have a bunch of young guys, but who out of those young guys is your future? I don't think any of them are like your
But what's changed?
cornerstone.
Yeah, but what's changed? Like they're obviously scouting is not great. Right.
Yeah,
so,
but they have the second pick, so at least you have the surface area to pick someone.
No, my point is, like, would they be able to? Like, would that franchise be able to pick the next big thing?
Like, let them try. Let the kids try.
Yeah, fair enough. Let the kids play.
Yeah.
Like, fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I can't defend them very much more than that, but that's where I think they're better off. But moving on.
Yeah, moving on. The Rockets. We touched on it a little bit with Reed Shepherd. But what do we think is the need for the Rockets? Like, what are they trying to fill?
Well, let's look at their locks, like positional locks. Yeah. The 5 spot is locked.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, Sengun's going to be a good starting. You're not going to move Sengun out of the place, right?
Yeah. He wouldn't be a 4. He's too slow.
No, he's your 5. That's locked. I don't think that's going to be argued.
Okay.
I still think Fred VanVleet will start at the 1 for most of the season.
You would have to.
You need the veteran there, I think, and you need the shooter. He's going to be the point guard. I'm not as sold on Jalen Green as most people are, but I think Houston's come around on them.
Yeah.
And then you got Jabari locking up the 4. Yeah. You're looking for wings. You could also argue they've got plethora of wings as well. Tari Eason, Whitmore, Brooks.
They're just so busy, man.
They are a busy
team.
I think they trade down. Or they trade the pick if it's possible.
Again, this is why I think on trades.
Yeah.
Because you start looking at some of these rosters and...
Just doesn't make sense.
No, like a lot of these teams, especially up the top of the draft, they could be competing.
Yeah.
For some places next season. They need the veterans.
Yeah.
I don't have a player for them, personally. I feel for any player that does wind up there because I don't see opportunity in the first couple of years. They still got another Thompson swing as well and didn't get a lot of opportunity last year.
Yeah.
Right, so...
Played okay. He played
okay, but minutes weren't there for us.
Yeah.
Tyrese
barely played too.
Tyrese, he was injured. I held him on my fantasy for way too long.
Yeah, that was weird.
He was injured for a while, but...
I think they take the project. Sorry, I think they take the project player, the long-term guy.
Yeah, which I hope it isn't Reed Shepherd because I think he needs to,
I think
he needs to get play time somewhere.
Yeah.
I think it's a Cody Williams side.
Yeah, I hope they trade it. I think trading it makes a lot of sense for them for a piece that's now and they know what they're getting. I think it makes sense for them to go for something that they know what they're getting back because they have so many what ifs. Amen. All the wings, all the
whole roster,
and then even then they had that period last year where Sengun was out and Jalen Green just went absolute beast mode and carried the team, and that must be very confusing for Ime because you had Jalen Green leading the team to wins, which is really interesting because you'd think that Sengun, being as important as he was and playing the way that he did, that he was impacting most of the winning, but I find it very strange that when Jalen Green got the opportunity without the big man being there, that he was able to carry the team to wins. So that's confusing.
If you were the GM of the Rockets, is there a player that you'd move?
Maybe.
Like, just no questions. You think it's not a great fit, and you go, "This guy's out. Like, we don't need him." Is there a player there, or is it we just roll in again next season and see what we got?
I think they're too young. They're too young to do that. I think they've only had 1 year with this rendition. I think they need to give it a bit more time because all of their young guys are they're good. And I think they have bright futures and you wouldn't want to give up on them too early.
Yeah.
But if a team came knocking with someone of value or that final piece, I think you'd have to think about it, right? Because I think they are like 1 to 2 key pieces away from being serious contenders. Yeah. So
I just think it's quite rare that a team gets two, I don't want to say bona fide stars, but on the star path, right? You're asking yourself, is Sengun going to be somewhat a Jokic in a few years? And you're asking, is Jalen Green going to be somewhat of an Ant in a few years? Right? I think Sengun to Jokic is more likely than the Green to Ant comparison.
I think both are unlikely though.
Both are unlikely, but I think one is more likely than the other. And then that's when you gotta ask, is Jalen Green? Do we move him now while the hype is still there?
Yeah.
I think giving up on Jalen Green too early would be a bit of a mistake.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's all hot. I'm just saying trade-wise.
Yeah.
I still see a blockbuster somewhere in there. I just think something left field is going to happen. I'm trying to dig out. Yeah, like a lot of these teams just stacked. Their rotations are 10 deep.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get a high draft pick. Like it's...
They haven't even found playing time with Cam Whitmore.
Yeah. And Cam is great.
Yeah, Cam's a great player.
He's a great player.
Right, we haven't even got to OKC with a stacked roster and high draft picks, right? Like it's... There's a lot in there. So...
we can move on though.
I think the team that we all want to talk about, who don't have a lot of stars and need draft picks, got 2 of them in the top 10, is San Antonio. I reckon we knock off 2 picks here.
Yeah.
So
they're obviously picking 4 and 8.
Yep.
I
mean, we're all praying.
We would lower Reed Shepherd in the Spurs, I think. And we can talk about it more now. I think he's a perfect Popovich player. I think he fits into a system where Popovich will want his players to pass and make the right play and not have a big head. I think, often white shooters, they fit that build. And I think, Reed Shepherd would be absolutely perfect for that. But if that doesn't work out, I do think the Spurs will continue to build through European players. I think this European players are more Pop system, and we don't know how long Pop is going to be around for, but I think they'll continue to build in that direction, and I think European players around Wemby makes more sense too, because you don't want people who are ball dominant. I think you can see it a bit with the Spurs now in the way that they don't look for Wemby. It's because I think they play at the moment, it's very un-Spurs-like. They play an American style of basketball, whereas you're so used to the Spurs playing this unselfish, almost Euro style of basketball. Yeah. So I think, potentially Matas Buzelis or, pre-injury Nikola Topic would have made a lot of sense, either at 4 or 8. But those are the 2 Euro guys I would be eyeing up as potential, kind of Spurs picks.
Just quickly on the Wemby thing, I think that's also like a bit of a rookie coming in with a large spotlight. I mean, everyone's seen the interviews of LeBron's teammates going, he's probably not going to make a big impact first season, blah, blah, blah. So there's a bit of that. I do wonder, though, with let's say they get Reed Shepherd with the first one, do they then go with a big center? Because I don't think they have intentions of playing Wemby as a 4 or a 5 down the stretch, like moving forward. I think he's going to be a versatile 3, which is scary as it sounds, because he gets the ball in his hands a lot, right? Obviously, they're probably not going to put conventional bigs around him, but do you take a big man? Because they use Zach Collins this year a lot just to take the hits, just to be like the interior presence on top. Do you double down and you go for a Klingon? Do you double down and you go for another big?
I have heard that they were interested in Klingon early on in the draft process.
It seems like a great fit for them.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a pick and roll with a Klingon and a Wemby? Like that's...
Imagine scoring on that.
How do you stop that? Like, there's 2 guys that are shooting over the top of you. 7'4" and 7'2". Like it's... I there are some athletic bigs in this draft, and I can see them becoming decent versions. Your Valanciunas, your that kind of type of player. I don't know if that's what you want with the 9th pick, but could be an interesting way to go about it. And I think something they probably should look into, because if you want to stretch Wemby's career out, it's not playing high minutes at the 5.
That's true.
I definitely I see what you're saying about Wemby shifting down, but I think the Spurs play their best with Wemby at the 5. It was really obvious at the start of the season when Zach Collins and was playing at the 5 that
it wasn't
they
a
weren't.
fit.
Yeah, it wasn't a great fit. But I don't really see that changing, and I think Wemby's good at the 5, and I think in the NBA nowadays, like, it's hard to play with two bigs, and I know some people would.
I know this is going to be. Yeah. I know this is going to be FIBA rules, whatnot, but we will get an insight into that this year, right? You're going to have Rudy, you're going to have Wemby together on the court for probably the majority of games. FIBA rules a bit different, way more favorable to having two bigs, but I can see that working, and I can see that sort of molding in because, again, you play Wemby at the 4. He's a stretch 4. He's got the ball in hand, right? You're just playing with a big guard.
Yeah.
And then you got your one big. And Zach Collins is not a good big. Like,
No,
we're not. There wasn't a good comparison. Like, it wasn't that. They didn't have a good taste of a big, right? You have a somewhat decent big that can do a bit. I think will be beneficial, especially if they pick up a good guard.
Yeah.
At the 4.
And I think it depends on again who they pick up for.
Yeah.
You know.
I think if they can nail 4, they're gonna be risky with 5.
Yeah.
Sorry, risky with 8.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
What if they don't get Reed Shepherd? Let's say Reed Shepherd goes to, like, God forbid, like Washington or something.
Yeah.
Who do you like for them at 4?
I think it is Buzelis. I think Buzelis is who I would think is probably the most pop sort of player. I just don't like Dillingham. Doesn't make any sense.
What about Stephon Castle?
Castle actually I could see that potentially, but
I can't stand it.
I know you're sort of high on him playing as a point. I don't know. Like, I think it's slightly unproven. He's outwardly said that he wants to play point guard. He didn't do that at UConn.
He didn't have a great assist to turnover ratio either.
No, I don't see, like, and that's not usually a step that people can make going into the NBA level. It's either like, you're bred and born playmaker, and
I mean, they put Sochan at 1 getting a shot last year.
That's true. But they were purposely tanking. So
just subtle than
is the tank over after this draft?
Potentially not. Because they need more talent.
Definitely
they need more talent. I think they need to be bad for at least 1 to 2 more seasons.
I think they do. If they nail these picks and they nail free agency, I can see them being competitive.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I can see it,
definitely.
They were definitely purposefully tanking last year.
Yeah.
But they've got great pieces. They got Devin Vassell.
Yeah.
They've got Keldon Johnson. They'll probably trade him.
Yeah.
Keldon Johnson cannot be there next season.
Yeah.
If they're tanking, he can definitely be there. But they want to be better that he can't be there.
Yeah. I think they've got money to throw too, so I can see them, potentially getting some vets.
Who would you land? Who would you go after? I don't think.
I think there would be some willing vets to go.
I think there's a lot of guys that would be willing to go.
There was actually I think Paul George was saying there was like a report saying like there were people willing to actually go play with Wemby instead of against him.
Well, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
I don't want to be.
That would make the game easy.
Yeah.
Wemby, knowing he's behind you on defense.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Again, potential trades.
Yeah.
2 in the top 10. But you guys want to go there?
They did say they might want to trade out. I think they might be targeting Reed Shepherd. I think that would be amazing.
I think Reed Shepherd has to be a lock for them. I think it's a no-brainer for both parties.
Forward,
do we have any other teams in the top 10 that's worth
talking about?
Yes.
I did want to talk. My fit for Stephon Castle was with the Hornets, because if he doesn't get his way and he stays a 2 guard, I think he's a great fit next to LaMelo, because you have LaMelo, and then you have to have Miller playing the 3, but you then get Castle, who's that defensive stopper next to LaMelo Ball, and I think he brings a bit more stability. I like that.
It's probably the best fit in terms of personnel.
Yeah.
Healthy Mark Williams out there. It's also not a bad shout. And then they're just really looking for a 4-man to fill that void there.
If Miles Bridges is out of there.
I believe he's out. I believed he was out by the end of last season. I don't think the franchise can probably take his reputation anymore. He's not. He didn't play with the team like at all. It was all isolation. It was all, and no Lamelo. Obviously, he loves Lamelo, and those two play together, but he didn't like playing with anyone else. So culturally, I think he needs to go again.
Yeah.
If he stays, that's another.
Even for his own progression as
Yeah.
well as a player. Yeah, you touched on a good point there.
It's tough because again, it's a spot where usage isn't coming. He's adamantly said he wants to play point guard. I don't see that coming unless there's a LaMelo injury,
Which is likely.
which is likely. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but there's no usage. It's tough for a guard to be there and only be a defender. He's not a spot up shooter. I think there's a lot more spot up 3-and-D kind of players that could fit in that mold better, and that's what they need. They need a bona fide 3-point shooter. They're not a defensive team. Just adding him is not going to change their defensive output by any means in the first couple of years. I think they need to lean into the offensive part and then just go, because they like to play fast. They clearly don't get enough shots up. They need a 3-point bomb because their 5 can't shoot.
Yeah.
Miles can shoot, but he's predominantly get to the basket.
Yeah.
Lamelo's as
Streaky.
Lamelo's streaky, Miller's streaky. They need a definite 3
Yeah.
that can shoot.
Well, I think Miller will continue to take steps. Like
Yes.
he was obviously getting better as the season went on last year.
Yeah,
He's promising.
he's promising. Having a point guard that will actually help him,
Yeah.
which he didn't have for most of that season, was going to help him even more.
Yeah.
I don't think. I think Castle gets shorthanded there if he does wind up there. The perfect person again. I think. Again, Reed Shepherd's probably the perfect option yet again. But how do you say it, Dave?
Dalton
Next. Bit further down, but I like the KCP comparison.
Yeah.
I like the Streets comparison. I think that's the kind of guy. That mold of player.
Yeah.
Straight shooter.
No business.
No
funny business.
No funny business. Doesn't really want to dribble the ball around.
Yeah.
Get to his spots. Get you a quick 9 to 12 points a game if he could, like off the 3, and then that's where he knows where he's needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think that's the fit for. Will they go that way? I don't think so, but
Yeah.
I think that's the fit there.
Yeah. Both of those are good picks. I think. I think if Buzelis happens to fall down there,
Yeah.
I reckon he'd be a great pick for them too. Pause.
Come on. All right. Back to it.
Yeah.
You got one, Dave, or do you want me to go?
No, you go.
Okay, so we spoke about it off camera a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we spoke about it on camera, which was the Portland pick of who dropped? Who was it? Zach Edey.
Oh,
Zach Edey, yeah.
I think again, not a big fan of Ayton. I don't believe he wants to hang around Portland long term. They've got a good couple of year window here with their backcourt with their 1 through 3 being young.
Yeah.
And I think pairing him up with a solid center in that range especially, who's got an offensive game somewhat. He's got a good defensive game. He's got both ends. He's a work in progress for sure, but I think that's the kind of player they need to target. Solidifies that. I know they've still got Rob Williams on the roster, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So, again, you've got an offensive player in Ayton. You've got a defensive player in Rob Williams to learn off. 2 guys that will definitely shelter you through the next year or 2. Good progression there for him. Good development there for him. And I think he becomes their piece to build around. So you've got your 1, 2, 3 and your 5 spot sorted. I mean, they're going to be tanking next year.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of learning experiences again for them.
Yeah.
I think that's the guy that Portland need to go for, and it's a perfect spot for him. 14th, getting someone like that, I think that's ideal. That would be my guy. That would be the team that I see outside the top 10 that'll grab a steal.
Yeah. I think I see what you're saying with the Blazers. I think I have a little more faith in DeAndre Ayton. Well, at least, they it's too early for them to give up on him, especially because they're a rebuilding team, so they need to have...
I don't see this as giving up. I see this as insurance.
Insurance, okay.
Yeah.
But I think they have so many more gaping holes. Like, they've got no wing depth. Like,
They don't.
I can't name a single wing on their team. like there was that lefty guy.
Tumani,
Yeah,
Kamara.
yeah. Kamara's the only one. Like I think that they go out and get a wing, and there's a fair few promising, 6'7", 6'8" kind of guys in this draft.
Yeah.
Like a Ron Holland going there potentially at 7 makes sense to me, but who knows? Okay, we'll summarize a bit quickly here because we have gone over time a fair bit.
Yeah.
But just to summarize, should we just go through our top 10 and who we think's going where quickly again?
Yeah, I think our
Yeah.
top 10s are very different though.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's do our each of our own sort of top 10s then. So
I would say go top 5.
okay, let's
Yeah,
go top
top
5.
five.
Okay. So
You go.
I would like Klingon to go first. I don't think it happens, but I'm gonna say Klingon first for me to the Hawks. What do you think?
Oh, we're going one pick.
Okay.
at a-
Yeah,
one
yeah,
each.
just go one each.
One each?
One each. Who do you think's going first?
I'm going on fit. I'm not going on talent. I'm going Castle. I think he's the fit for.
Castle.
Yeah, I think he's the fit for Hawks. I think like I said, I don't personally see them taking a pick. I think Castle is the guy because I think one of the two guards in the backcourt get moved this offseason, and I think they will start the rebuilding phase, getting another guard to pair with the guard that they push out. I think it's going to work out probably better for them. So I think he ends up going first.
Interesting. Cool. For me, it's Ricochet. Is that what I'm saying?
Yep.
Right? Yeah. I know that they have like Jalen Johnson, DeAndre Hunter, but if they're looking for fit, his calling card is his defense. That's what everyone's been talking about, and I think, like you guys mentioned before, Hawks have finished well with their top.
He does treat it
Defense.
really well.
It does treat it very well. He fits into the offense really well. Probably can play well off cuts. Kind of what Jalen Johnson's doing. Obviously, probably will do it to the same level. But yeah, I think if they don't make any additional moves and they're going ahead of this pick, I think this is what they're going to do.
Cool.
Yeah.
Pick 2.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Pick 2. I think Saar has to go second for me.
Yep.
I don't think Washington. It's either between him and Ricochet. And with me going Klingon 1, it does put Ricochet in a bit of a weird spot.
Yeah,
I'll have to address that at some point. But that's my second pick. So
Look, if Sar's on the board, I think he does go second for me as well. But it does put Ricochet in an awkward spot because I think then he falls.
yeah,
So I don't see another team that's going to be overly keen on him as a positional fit. Again, if I'm doing this draft on fit, I would say Ricochet goes second and then Sars goes third. Oddly enough to Houston. They're a lot faster. They can play Sengun more as a ball mover and have another big out there that's running. Good backup thing. So I'm going to go Ricochet. I'm going to change it up.
okay,
Right? Put him there and put Sars. I'm going on fit.
yeah,
I don't think my list is going to be accurate, but I'm going to go Sars third.
yeah, fair. David, who you got?
I've got Saar going second as well. I think Washington will probably just try to find like the almost best player available. I think they have the runway for Saar to kind of explore himself as a player, let him develop. So I think that's who they're going with.
Yeah, fair. I think because I've now got Ricochet dropping, I think I will have Houston taking him because I think that is also a need for them. Is I know that they've got big wings, but defense is going to be a need with Şengün there being there at the 5. So give Jabari another defender next to him. I don't know. I think Ricochet is more of a project, and Houston is more of a team that can afford to have a project. More than what Saar and potentially someone like Klingon is. I think you have a bit more of a definitive idea of who they will be.
Yeah.
And maybe more upside with a player like Ricochet, but he may need more time to kind of develop. So
I did struggle with the fit there. Just again, you said that San Antonio loves their European players. I just feel like Houston as a team, as a roster, just don't think they're going to be openly invested in a guy like him. Because they're on the rise. They need like a win now.
Yeah.
You know, like American player. Like,
Yeah.
if that's, I don't know if that's the way to say it, but they need an American dude. They need a dude that'll come in like gel with them, vibe with them.
No effing around with the Euros. Huh?
Nah, I don't see it. They've got that €1. They're happy with him, right? It took him a whole year for them to be happy with him.
Yeah.
You know, he was getting 22 minutes last season, so finally get the minutes. I think they believe in him, and I think that's where it caps. But see how it goes. Dave, who you got here?
I think, knowing Houston, they'll probably pick the best player available. And the best player available right now is Reed Shepherd.
Okay, so you're pulling the Shepherd card.
I think only because if they don't trade this pick, they'll probably be like, you know what, I want, like, that's the player that I want.
Yep, fair. I think you might be right over the two of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like provided it plays out the way it does before. I know I'm like going off the athletic box shot, but I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't want him to go there. I think we've already said that, but I think realistically that's probably what will happen.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got Reed for San Antonio.
Yeah. I think
that's a heart pick. Like I think my heart's invested there.
Yeah.
I'll throw it out. I think Stephon Castle goes there.
Yeah.
I think he brings a physicality, a motor, and like that defense at the guard position that they currently don't have.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know they're like Trey Jones is playing for them at the moment, so they've got him running point. I can kind of see them kind of working together. Mm-hmm. Him being that off guard to Trey Jones, and that point of attack defender.
That's fair. I can definitely see that. My next pick with Detroit. Detroit's a hard one to put your finger on. If Reed Shepherd's still around, definitely, I think they take it for the shooting. Yeah. He's just the best shooter.
Well, in your mock draft, he's currently not.
Yeah, he's currently not. So I would say that Dalton Knecht probably makes the most sense as a wing shooter because they need a wing. And he shoots, near 40%, carried Tennessee. So, I'm going to say Knecht.
I'm going with Grizzlies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's the guy that ends up there. Again, the comparisons are France and Lamar, right? Yeah. Which is versatile wing, can shoot, can create, can play make, can do a little bit, which really helps to go with Cade, who's the only playmaker. I can't see them going with a backcourt guy. I think it's going to be frontcourt where they need to replace the Beach 2 minutes next season. That's not a possibility. And I think they got this center in Durant.
Yeah.
So I think that's sort of where they go. What's daunting is on my draft board is that, Klingon's still available. And you've got him number 1. So, I don't have him going for a little while. So let's go.
I'm clearly a Klingon fanboy here.
Yeah.
I think I was standing him pretty hard. But my next pick, the Hornets at 6, I think that's the perfect place for Cartel to sit. I hope he goes there fit-wise. But I think, he would be good on a lot of teams. But I think the Hornets would be pretty silly to not take Castle, I think.
Probably, for me.
Castle as well?
No. No. What's his name?
Next?
Next.
Okay.
Throwing him in, he's perfect for me. I think he's been bigger. I think he's a shooter, like I mentioned before. I think he's a better fit.
I agree. Actually, so for me, I had Buzelis going there. I think Buzelis will fit the kind of like up tempo kind of. He's just a fluid guy, man. He can do it all on the court, and I can see him kind of gelling with LaMelo. LaMelo's up tempo type of play. And I think his size is great. If they have Brendan Miller starting at the 3. Buzelis at the 4, and Mark Williams at the...
They can definitely make it fit there.
Yeah.
He's again, very likely.
Yeah.
If he's still there, I don't think he will be there.
Yeah.
Let's go Portland. Who do we have?
You want to go first?
I got Klingon.
Yeah, Klingon.
Like I mentioned with if Klingon falls, right, like I was aiming lower for a center, but I think they go center. I just gut feeling is they go center. Klingon's still on the board, which I doubt at that point, and I'm sure another team would have taken him. But I'd go Klingon.
David?
I can definitely see Klingon going there. I have Cody Williams going there, and because I think Denar made a point earlier, Portland has like absolutely zero wing depth at the moment. Cody Williams is a bit raw, but I think Portland isn't really going anywhere anytime soon, so they can probably take a gamble on him. He's a great finisher around the rim, and he's got great defensive upside. He's just a bit skinny, but I think that's where they go. Give him that runway.
Fair. I think my pick, I'm going the same vein as David, because I do think a wing player is what they've got to go for next if they've got Scoot and if they somewhat believe in What's his name?
Which one?
Is the big man?
Oh,
Aiden.
Aiden.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
If there's someone believing,
Forgetful man.
yeah, if there's someone believing in him, then yeah, they've got to go for a wing. I think the best wing available is Ron Holland. I think he is everything that you'd want on both sides of the ball. High energy guy. He's a great defender. You trust him to guard the other team's best player, and I think that's a pretty decent, floor to have, at least knowing that he's able to do that, and then give you energy and hopefully develop the shot at some point. Yeah, that's my pick.
Yeah, I'm amazed because I think David's already gone a little early, but you've got Klingon on the next one.
I do. Yeah.
Klingon falling to that spot there is literally not a mock draft that has him falling that far.
Yeah. No, that's
It's quite nuts.
yeah.
Yeah.
In my mock draft, he's actually fallen that far. Apparently.
Yeah.
So well, I had no choice.
Yeah,
Did I put him there? I put him in.
I think that's a steal.
Memphis.
If he falls there, it's a steal.
Yeah.
I'm in the belief that I think they should get a center,
Mm.
but I was pointing it out earlier. Devin Carter being a versatile defensive guard, I think they need to go heavy on some guards.
Yeah.
Right. Devin Vassell was literally and Trey Jones, who they didn't believe in at all, didn't really get the minutes. They didn't have a lot of guards.
Yeah.
You need to help Wemby out in that aspect.
Yeah.
So I think that's where they double down. They might go with two guards. Who did you have?
I'm leaning towards Carter as well. I initially think that, look, I don't think Dillingham is going early. But if Dillingham's available, he could potentially be interesting as the 8th pick for the Spurs. I don't love him as a player, but his defensive lapses could potentially be made up by having Wemby behind you. So like he's the kind of player who you could experiment with. Like I think the Spurs could afford to have a dynamic guard like that who can make magic happen on offense, because their offense was miserable last year. Miserable. So having a player like that, yeah, he could be really good. But then again, I think Carter is more of a fit for
The
a
Spurs.
Spurs player.
He seems more like a Spurs kind of player.
Yeah. So on paper, Carter makes sense. But who knows? Wild card Dillingham deck could also work. But
It'll be interesting. We've got 2 more to go. Memphis, interesting one. We didn't really talk about Memphis.
I think they're in a very unique position.
What do they need?
I think they need a center.
yeah, I think they
They
need
lost
to-
Steven Adams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so back up to Jaren, because I think they'll play Jaren at the 5.
Yeah.
I don't like that though, because I think Jaren has proven over and over again that he's a much better 4 than he is a 5.
Yep.
And I think the best version of the Grizzlies is when you had Adams setting just monstrous picks for Ja Morant, and they were the number 1 seed in the West at a certain point because of that combo, I think. And as soon as he went out, just their descent into being mediocre.
How do you guys feel about
So
Edie?
Yeah, so that's my question. Are you going to
Yeah.
reach down a little bit? I mean, not that he's that far down, but is that the kind of guy that you're going for?
I think we're at the point of the draft where things get really interesting because, like, 7, 8, 9 onwards, like I think there is no set order whatsoever of where these guys go. I think you can even go deeper to some of these bigs. Now, off the top of my head, Khalil Ware. Khalil Ware is like a 7 foot guy who can stretch the floor. And he was drawing comparisons to Derek Lively as well. And I think Derek Lively proved this playoffs how vital he was. If someone of Derek Lively's size and has the IQ and the ability to be safe with the ball,
really well.
yeah, he shot the
3-point percentage was solid for a 7.
crap out of it. So he's someone I could see, potentially moving up. But it just depends. Like I think he's one of those players who would move up because a team needs that fit wise, like a center. And Edie would be really good because I think he's going to set monster picks. Same as Klingon. If Klingon's around at that point as well, Klingon's also a guy who's just going to set you 7'2" man setting screens for you, 280 pounds. Like
Klingon is a massive dude.
He's a big dude.
He's a huge dude.
He's a unit. So.
I still think you go for Portland there. But let's go with...
Yep.
So Memphis, are you going with Edie or are you going with... Are you going to reach?
I'm going to reach. I'm going
Good.
to go down. I'm going to get Khalil Ware.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Cool. What about you, Kev?
I'm kind of on the fence with what they need. I still think they could use a 3, right? Like, I mean, they didn't really replace Brooks to very much. I mean, they got
Vince Williams.
You got the 3 guard rotations of Bane, Smart, and Jar. They like the toughness. They like the speed. I think getting rid of Steven Adams was a sign that they like to go a bit smaller. They like Jaren Jackson at the 5. They like Brendan Clark coming off, playing the 4, coming to the bench, playing a bit faster. I don't think they go big. I think they go with the athleticism of Cody Williams or Ron Holland. I think someone that helps them run, helps them get some more offense, because they really don't have a lot of offense. You got Bane and Jar with for majority of your points. Triple J is not really an offensive guy.
I mean, they got Luke Kennard and they have...
But Kennard was really weak last season. And you can't bring another guard on. They've got a 3-guard rotation already that's going to, when healthy, dominate minutes. They weren't healthy last year. They've still got they got Gigi Jackson and some of the guys that really stepped up. Zion Williams. You got guys that stepped up a little bit, but I'm going. I don't know. I'm going Ron Holland, to be honest. I think Ron Holland is. You've already pulled the card with Holland. He's going a bit higher. I think he's a guy that still got the defensive option and got a bit of offensive game that helps and fits their dynamic.
Yeah, that's fair. Have you done your ninth pick?
Yeah, I had Edie.
Oh, yeah, Edie. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
And then the Jazz. Jazz, for me, I think they're just taking whoever they can get at that point. Yeah. I think they have holes everywhere. I think the Jazz, I think they'll take anyone because I think they are going to be bad for a little bit here, and they'll continue to probably tank. So on my board, I think Cody Williams is probably the most talented at this point. But we've spoken about him already.
Yeah. And for me, it'd be Ron Holland. Just an upside pick, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think this will be left field. Again, it really isn't a fit for them. It really depends on what they do. I think they're a trade team.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of pieces at every spot at the moment. And it's kind of trying to clean house a little bit. They could be a team that rise.
Yeah.
Right? I wouldn't be surprised if they pick up a reacher, but if they pick up someone that they really think they believe they need, which I think is a point guard for them.
Like an actual proper
like a proper point guard. You got Keontae George who's coming through.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of that, is there anyone else on that roster they're keeping? Like, in the guard spots? You know, they're obviously going to keep Kessler. They're always going to keep Larry.
Well, there was reports actually that came out that they were open to trading Kessler.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If that's not the style they're going for, then again, another beat guy is probably not it. So, Jared McCain, there's some guards, man. Like, I can see.
Bob Carrington is really good.
Yeah.
Bob Carrington is good. Who knows? I think at that point in the draft, it's very hard to say. Like we said, 7, 8, 9 onwards is like teams will bank on who they think is talented enough for that spot and their need, of course. But
throw in Isaiah Collier for me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
A real wild card.
Right.
Real wild card. It's down the bottom. You know, they could use a Tyreek Evans and Onion Media kind of guy.
Yeah, nice. Onion Media would be perfect.
Yeah.
Hey, I've been through an Onion Media. Right? The Knicks had it.
Yeah.
Horrible.
I was high on him actually when he was coming in.
Horrible.
I was high on him. We played in China.
Nugget. Quickly before we finish the draft, where does Bronny end up?
He ends up a Laker, baby. Pick 58 or pick 59.
Lakers trading up for him.
So you got the Lakers with him? Who do you have?
He's going to the Warriors at 54, 52, and then LeBron's going to join them on free agency. That's the dream.
Yikes.
Yikes.
That's the dream.
Yeah, I'm sticking to the Bill Simmons theory. I think he does get held hostage in Boston.
Yeah.
Why would you not pull that card if you're Boston?
Yeah, why not?
You know?
30th pick, man. That's way too early, you know.
Trade asset.
Diamonds in the rough, though.
Trade asset.
He was compared to Drew Holiday, and Drew Holiday
there you go.
Chip, so,
Trade asset. Perfect.
Yeah, true. Well, he seems like a Heat player, too. He could develop.
Yeah. I hope.
Which would be cool, because I actually could see LeBron going back to Miami. Like,
I
think
hope
he'd be a great fit there as well.
he ends up somewhere that he can be good.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real. Like, he is a young kid that's gonna try and live out his dream.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah. Anyway, this has been the Airball Pod. Thanks for watching our first video pod. Take it easy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cut there.